I'm going to talk about a few things, technologies that I've been directly involved with. I'm sure that there's many other technologies happening where, I won't be mentioning those. I'll just be talking about what I'm working on. Okay, so how does this? Okay, so the first one is with the help of SEVA, Oralab was able to start an optical division, and the goal is to really reach the unreached who suffer uncorrected refractive error. So there's at least 2.2 billion people who live with vision impairment, and at least 1 billion that can be prevented or addressed, and a lot of that is refractive error. So there's 950 million people who need glasses for myopia or presbyopia, and WHO, the World Health Organization, has they would like to see how we can increase effective refractive error coverage by 40% by 2030. So with Oralab, we embarked on this trail to this path to see how we could increase the spectacles. Like we looked at the whole ecosystem to see how we could reach the unreached. And one of the things that we discovered is if you go way upstream to the manufacturers, the price point is very low. And then it goes through successive gateways where margin is added in. It keeps on getting added in. So we started by going way upstream and sourcing lenses where we're able to make them available at maybe 10% of the wholesale cost. And so we've started that business. And now we're working on a feasibility study to get into lens production, polycarbonates or cast molded lenses. We're looking to create turnkey edging labs to shape the lenses into the frames, and then also looking into surfacing labs. So just like with Oralab intraocular lenses, where Oralab was able to dramatically lower the price of intraocular lenses to really change the competitive landscape for cataract surgery, especially for low-income people. That's what we're hoping to do with optical. One of the other things that we're looking at also with the help of a SEVA support, there's a neuro-optometrist named William Padula who developed a way of refraction that he is getting ready for the internet, called pattern field refraction. And he was willing to work with us to put it on a tablet to see if it could work for last mile refraction in developing countries. So basically there's an algorithm that resides on a tablet, and as you bring the tablet towards the patient, as soon as they see an image emerge, they tell you to stop, and that's the spherical correction, and then a little bit more is then you do it again to get the cylindrical, and then again to get the axes. And they did a clinical trial to compare that with autorefractor and optometrists using a 4-opter, and it was better than the autorefractor, and it was actually exactly on par with the same results as the 4-opter with optometrists. So that's something very promising. Refraction is a huge bottleneck, and if we can, well, I'm probably saying this to the wrong group, but if we can deprofessionalize refraction, where there's a technology that enables accurate refraction, then I think many more people can be reached. Oralab, with help from SEVA, is working with Zydus Cadila, one of the big pharmaceutical companies here, to see if we can take their bevacizumab, have them produce it and get regulatory approval to be able to sell that as an ophthalmic product. So that's something that we're working on now in Oralab. But then in the process of looking at the whole ecosystem of all the different drugs available and including detection, we found another possibility that we've been thinking about and discussing. There's a company called Ashvata that developed a state-of-the-art therapy for diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration. It was developed out of Hopkins, and this is a subcutaneous injection that the patient can deliver themselves. It will also be in pill form soon. And in the rabbit study that this group first did, it was more effective in reversing disease in rabbit eyes than Eylea, aflibercept, which of course is the market leader. So this Ashvata is now completing stage 2, phase 2 clinical trials, and Oralab, Seva, Aravind, we're in discussions to see how we can do clinical trials in India and bring this drug to India. And one of the key features of Ashvata is sort of convincing them as somewhat of a startup company to be willing to price for affordability in developing countries, especially for a blockbuster drug like this. So we're very appreciative that they're open to working with us. And you can see the clinical results of that animal study where the CNV area reduced dramatically compared to aflibercept after 14 days. Okay. Now I'll talk a little bit about corneal regeneration, and this is some of my work through CareLink. And again, we're working with Ashvata. There was research done by Kannan Ranganamanujam, who's actually from close to Pondicherry, and he's the co-director of Johns Hopkins University Center for Nanomedicine. And he developed a hyaluronic dendrimer substance for replacement of human tissue following ALK and DALK, and they actually discovered by accident that it could regenerate the cornea. Right before COVID, they had just completed a big study for the U.S. Army to show that it worked really well as a corneal glue, and they did ALK procedures on the remaining rabbits and put the substance on, cured it. And then COVID happened. And when they came back like 4 or 5 months later, they couldn't believe it that the corneas had regenerated. And so CareLink supported another study looking at both ALK and deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty to see if it could work again. And it did. We were able to see that the corneas had completely regenerated. There was normal tear production. There was the nerves grew back into the cornea, and all the corneal structures that were regenerated were normal. Reepithelialization took place, and then there was clarity, optical clarity, and also the correct curvature. And so of course, this is kind of a big deal, because when you think about India, probably 70% of keratoplasty is needed because of anterior scarring. And so if you can do a DALK procedure or ALK and not have to bother with sutures, and maybe even de-risk it so that cataract surgeons can do it, then that might be something much better than what's currently provided. So with this product, we're able to look at expanding beyond the limited number of corneal specialists and expanding beyond the limited number of corneal tissue, which is really a big problem throughout the world, especially outside of India and in the developing countries. So as you can see, the healthy control on the right, and shallow anterior lamellar keratoplasty and deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty, you can see that the results of the regenerated cornea in these pathology photos, it looks pretty good. And here's just a very crude way of looking at the clarity of the corneas to see that there is reasonable, sufficient clarity. And we're going to be measuring all this in a little bit more detail with, let's see, how do I get rid of this thing? So here's just some more data that shows the clear corneas, the OCT, and so on. And what happens is that as the stromal tissue regrows, reepithelialization takes place, the hyaluronic dendrimer matrix dissolves and walks away, so that there's no trace of it. Okay, there we go. So here's some rabbit photographs that where we did keratometry, which basically showed that the curvature in regenerated corneas was about the same as the curvature in the unoperated eye. So this was very telling and made us feel good. Okay. Other things that we're working on, we're looking at how to address keratoconus in a big way, to see how we can do screening in large populations by taking a portable keratoconus, a portable corneal typographer developed by Imagine in Switzerland, and how do we add in algorithms for detecting keratoconus, hopefully at the earliest, from a group called Toku Eyes out of New Zealand that develops artificial intelligence for the eye. So they've already developed this algorithm. It works with the Pentacam, and we're hoping to test it at Aravind and other places to see if it can act as a screening tool, sort of to go along with school screening, and even to be used in vision centers. And here's some pictures. You can see that the Imagine drawing next to the Pentacam, you can see that it's pretty similar. So hopefully we can bring a low-cost way of doing keratoconus detection at the earliest to the lower and middle income countries. And then we're working on the Center for Bioengineering, Innovation and Design out of Hopkins has a very big collaboration with Aravind, especially here in Pondicherry, to develop a smartphone with attachment and sort of resident EMR on the phone to be able to enable detection and recording of eye diseases in eye camps or even in communities. This is a little bit about it. They're hoping to set up a nonprofit called Visilant, and it's a whole anterior segment screening system and patient management system. And I'm guessing some of the Pondicherry people here know quite a bit about it. And what we hope to do is to see how we can add on to that algorithms for the detection of and measurement of keratoconus, particularly to distinguish between bacterial, fungal, and viral keratitis. Because I'm thinking in my simple way, if you want to prevent blindness due to corneal disease, you want to detect it at the earliest. So how do you create tools where you can be detecting keratitis in the community? And then how do you treat right away with the correct medication, antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, even perhaps some combination drugs? How do you do teleprescribing to be able to give them the medicine they need right away? Because with most corneal, with most need for keratoplasty due to keratitis, which is probably the major reason of keratoplasty in India, how do you reduce the time from diagnosis to treatment? So that's one of the things that we're looking to do. Okay, and then finally, this is a group I work with out of Pune. They're making, it's called NIAM. They're making a light adjustable intraocular lens. It's similar to the RX Sight product, only better. And they've just completed all their animal studies, and they're about to go to human clinical trials. And basically, it has two manifestations. One is you can take measurements of aberrations in the optical pathway and adjust the lens preoperatively in the manufacturing process, and that's to address presbyopia, myopia, astigmatism. You can make it a multifocal lens, and it's particularly good for addressing AMD and keratoconus, because you can design the lens specifically customized for each person's visual, remaining vision. And then there's a second version that is a post-operative adjustment, where it can be adjusted by the ophthalmologist post-operatively using an attachment to a slit lamp that delivers visible light directed by an algorithm onto the lens to change the shape of the macromers that then can it can enable addressing myopia, presbyopia, and astigmatism. So this is all sort of coming up, and right now the RX Sight lens is a premium lens selling for something like $1,200, and we NIAM wants to see how they can bring this to the lower income countries at just a fraction of that price. Instead of silicone, which the RX lens is, it's hydrophobic acrylic. You can do all the adjustments at once, whereas RX Sight requires multiple sittings to do the adjustments. And it can be adjusted plus or minus 8 diopters. The RX Sight is only 2 diopters, and it's hydrophobic acrylic, which is a better material than silicone for the eye. And it can also, it doesn't require the patient to wear UV protecting glasses until the lens until it's locked in. And so this is just a drawing of what it looks like, just a representation of how you provide visible light in a very precise way to change the shape, where there's a tolerance down to like 1 or 2 nanometers, and then you lock it in, and then it's a permanent solution. So this is, if you think about India and sutureless manual extracapsular surgery, where you do have postoperative astigmatism, this would be a solution for that. Okay, thank you very much.